The girl had a difficult life, her stepfather abusing her. One day he and the other sailors discovered a ship where everyone was dead, all but one man. There they found a kind of compass. It is supposed to point the way to the Golden City in the man-eating pit. It is Vuelo's duty to find the place. The seasickness has completely plagued her. She and her crew are almost there. It's all about faith. And this belief in the girl is supported by Balaf, one of the crew members. There was a big storm at sea, half the ships were sunk, and suddenly they realized that they had reached their destination. There the locals were waiting for them. With whom, however, they quickly became friends. They agreed to help the foreigners in exchange for a compass. One of the girls followed the team, so they decided to take her with them. The journey was not an easy one, but the goal was worth it. Meanwhile, Rico, Reg, and Nanati made their way into the heart of the whirlpool. Suddenly Riko was touched by something, and they shifted, something floating in the water outside. They were plunging into a sea of corpses. And just as the boys were arriving, in front of them stretched the capital of the overturned, the Golden City. Riko almost fell down a hole. The whole city was covered in crystals. Not much was known about level 6, so they would have to make their own way. A glow of some kind appeared in the distance, and meteorites sprinkled from above. The boys managed to escape and get some food. Riko decided to send a letter to her friends at the orphanage. Now they could rest. The letter they sent came back, and they also stole a twig. Someone is obviously watching the boys. Reg picked up the scent and found a trail. Manny found small animal carcasses stuffed with Riko's hair and Nanati's wool. That wouldn't scare them, we'd have to find their enemies. They came to a lair of some kind, and there was a symbol from the letter. For safety, the boys created a smokescreen. But that didn't hide them from the observers. There were human remains everywhere inside. Some creature came out to meet them. The friends followed the creature. The places are unknown, you have to be on your guard. It led them to an even stranger creature that was breaking the Prushka. But in fact this creature wanted to improve the Prushka by making it a more valuable stone. Next, the boys were led to the village of these creatures. The first thing they did was visit the valuables market. There they found a leaf from Riko's mother's diary. But to redeem it, they must give something in return, the most valuable being a part of the human body. You have to gain the trust of the creature. That's the kind of thing they sell in this market. The foreigners were very interested in the creatures. They were surrounded on all sides and almost killed Meng by accident. A squeak sounded from above. For one monster spoiling another's valuables, his important valuables are taken away from him. The balancing act destroyed the monster. We must find a place to sleep. The locals took them to a certain hotel. Certainly not the nicest place, but not too bad, though. After the strange treats, Riko got a stomach ache. Into the settlement came Faputa, the epitome of values. She knows how to conceal herself masterfully. Maybe she's the one who stole the Prucha. Reg ran to scout it out while Nanati looked for something to help Riko and Manny. Faputa was sort of a local princess. Meanwhile, the death squad was met by unidentified men, which drove them to the Golden City. A huge dragon got in their way. Faputa jumped on Reg. Turns out he had seen her once before. She really didn't like being watched. In order for Nanati to buy fruit and water, she had to pay something. Faputa took Reg to the cave. Faputa knew Reg for sure, but he did not know her or himself. She opened the wound that had just grown open and hurt the boy. She somehow knew his name, which Riko had called him. It was time for Reg to return to his friends. He disappointed Faputa. Rick is still not feeling well. He needs to drink more water so he doesn't get dehydrated. But where did her friends go? To avoid wasting time, she decides to go to the market. Looking for Majikaji, the girl ran into a lot of monsters. They clung to her on all sides. She and Minea were saved by the monster that had already paid for the damage to her valuables. She must find her friends at once, in case something had happened to them. For company, she took with her a pink monster she named Ma. They accidentally wandered into a restaurant. After being poisoned, it was time to eat. Riko ordered an unusual dish with a very pleasant smell. And Majikaji and Nanati entered another cave. The inhabitant of such a secluded place turned out to be a great one. Near him Nanati found Midi. Rag seems to be lost. Some creature had gotten loose, too. Good thing Faputa's robot came to the rescue. He decided to escort the boy out. Apparently it was Faputa who stuffed those animals with the boy's hair and fur. It was a talisman against beasts. According to the robot's story, Reg is a sentinel just like him. While Riko was having lunch at the restaurant, she had time to meet several other residents. The girl asked the vendor to teach her the local language. The vendor directed Rika to a secret place behind the village. This place is said to harbor the secret of the village itself. It was very sticky and dark down there. There they discovered the tentacles of equilibrium and heard some sounds. The source of the sounds turned out to be a girl. It was the same Vuelo, the girl from the beginning. She seems to know where one of Riko's friends is. Only Riko can free Vuelo from her shackles. Which she did. Now we have to get out into the light as soon as possible. Riko and Ma came to the house of a certain wise man named Balaf. There she found Nanati. Balaf is the serpent dragon. It turns out that Nanati sold herself to him so that Balaf would not hurt Mitya. So how does Riko ransom Nanati and Mitty? The price was too high. The dragon was only willing to trade Nanati for half of Riko's body parts. But Majikaji would not let her make the exchange. Was Nanati lost forever? The village has begun a lure, a kind of hunt. They lure the monsters outside and kill them inside. The wizard has finally upgraded the Pyru, now it can be taken away. The hunt is in full swing. True, it looks like the villagers are being hunted here. One of the wise men came out to fight. To the rescue of the village came Muji, the same vendor, with other villagers. The beast killed one of the wise men. Riko decided to help the villagers. First they lured the monster to the mirror, which diverted his attention and attacked him from behind. Victory! But as luck would have it, the monster seemed to rise from the dead and take Ma with it. Using a twig, Riko summoned Reg to her side. All she could do was overpower the enemy, but when Reg ran up to the monster, he was nothing but an empty shell. The friends gathered and began to think how to save Nanati. Perhaps a piece of Faputa would be of greater value to Balaf. Now we know what kind of team it was that was searching for the Golden City. They are the very inhabitants of this village. They quickly realized that the Golden City was not a safe and welcoming place. It was impossible not to go down from this place, not to go back up. There was only one way out, to settle down and make this place livable. So they began to get acquainted with the local flora and fauna. They found water, it remains to understand where to get food. The girl's escort was abandoned by her family and Vuelo replaced the girl with her family. But the girl fell ill, as did half of the settlement. They found an heirloom in one of the bags, and the cause of the illness turned out to be water. The locals told them that the relic could grant wishes. People in the camp were suffering, something had to be done. One had to trust the child's sincere wishes. And it helped, the girl recovered, but her body changed. No one knew what she wished for. Soon she began having babies and losing them literally every other day. And then Vuelo became ill as well. It was the girl's chowder that lifted her to her feet. Rag went to Faputa to borrow a body part from her. She had no problem giving up her paw, in exchange for Rag fulfilling a promise he had made to her long ago. The girl turned into a real monster, a fragile, gentle monster. The living soup was created from the girl's cubs. It is cruel, but necessary. It went on like this for a long time. The monster girl led the settlement into a dangerous cave, for the hunt. Balaf was broken, he could not go on like this. He begged to be devoured, and the girl did his will, so he turned into a dragon serpent. The others followed him, but not Vuelo. And so they imprisoned her in the darkness. In the end, the girl had one last child who survived. This was the Princess Faputa. Such is the story of this mysterious village. Faputa has dreamed of destroying the village and freeing her mother. She can do this with Reg's help. The boy brought a part of the princess body. For such a gift, in exchange, Reg must help Faputa infiltrate the village. The main wish of all the villagers is to continue on their journey into the abyss, but they cannot leave the village. Suddenly a monster bursts out of the ground. He has come for part of the princess body. The fight has just begun and the monster has already been swallowed up by dark tentacles. This monster is part of the village, so it doesn't care about the equilibrium. Reg has to protect a piece of Faputa. We have to run, but there's nowhere to go. All the exits are blocked. And now the tentacles have snatched up a valuable piece. Only a Sizzler can defeat this beast. And indeed, it brought the monster down, and Reg got a piece of the princess back. And so she appeared, full of lust for vengeance, hatred, grief, and determination. Faputa. Now she would destroy the whole terrible village, all the inhabitants who lived because of her mother's suffering. Balaf himself let Nanati go, giving her all his memories. But there is a small problem: if Nanati goes outside the village, then Mithi will disappear. Well, this time it's time to say goodbye to Mithi for good. Now it's Balaf's turn to evaporate into thin air. Faputa's robot has protected the boys. Only Rag can stop the princess. Faputa destroys everything in her path, with incredible cruelty. No one can stop her, she is too strong and too steadfast. There's not much time left. And there it is, the confrontation between the prince and the princess. She didn't expect this kind of action from Reg. She intends to retrieve the prince's memories. He seemed to be beginning to remember the first meeting. But Faputa was adamant she would make him remember, through pain, through suffering, but she would make him. When they met, Faputa knew at once that this was a true friendship. Now they fought as if they were enemies. With the help of a twig, Rag has improved. But the princess is not so simple. She doesn't want to lose Reg, she just wants him to remember everything. For him to remember her. Faputa has a mark with which she marks her dearest. She has always dreamed of destroying the settlement inside her mother, and she proposed the idea to Reg. He promised to come back to her and help with the cause. Their friendship grew into true love. As we recall, his adventure ended in memory loss, but now he remembers. Reg can't let Faputa destroy himself. Seeing the weakness, Faputa pounced and immobilized Reg. She blamed all her troubles on Riko. But her faithful robot protected the girl from the blow and fell on the battlefield. The situation is deplorable. Balaf and Nanati decided to stop her. They were sure to overthrow her. Faputa threw herself into the attack. Balaf, on the other hand, plunged her into the memory of her mother. All the best moments of her life flashed before her eyes. Suddenly the prophet wished this time to recruit Riko to create a new, stronger village. The memory weakened the princess, weakened that hateful fire. The village's defenses are gone, and now all sorts of monsters are sneaking in. Faputa has risen up against the monsters, for they are taking her prey. No one dares do that. There are too many of them. They have taken everything from the princess, her sisters, her flesh, her monsters, her robot. She had nothing left, not even a reason to live. Faputa was shredded into little pieces. But she is called the immortal princess for a reason. The natives gave up everything for her health. Just to keep her alive. With renewed vigor, she rushed into battle. Now against the outside monsters. She will definitely do her duty, no one can stop her. Once upon a time, Faputa met a robot. But instead of finishing him off, she helped him repair himself. It taught her how to speak and write. Filled a void in her soul and became a true friend. She was the one who stole the pirouette. She will fight for her values. Majikaji takes the survivors to safety. Now the village is destroyed. But this was to be expected. The sage gave his final admonition to the boys: let them strive for the dream, whatever they have to go through. Before saying goodbye, Riko was given her mother's note sheets. Vuelo followed the boys. She was very worried about Riko, but it was not clear why. Upon reaching the ruined wall, the girl disintegrated with a curse. At the last moment she was saved by one of the monsters. Though deformed, she is still alive. And there is chaos in the ruined village, spread by outside beasts. Rag comes to Faputa's aid. It's time to transform. Rag has challenged the top of the abyss food chain. Faputa must eat the remaining empties to become stronger. Her power made the cave begin to crumble. We've got to get out of here fast. After destroying the village and doing her duty, Faputa may die. But Rogue will not let it end like this. Majikaji can no longer continue on his journey. Not in his own body. They were able to make it to safety. Where Vuelo drew her last breath. The boys offered to go with Faputa, to continue the journey. Such an offer was simply impossible to refuse. Now their team was friendlier and larger. Even in the darkness of the dangerous abyss, their hearts shine like the sun, dispelling all the horrors they will meet on their way.